Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to let people give a minute here to get joined in as I get my screen shared. A little bit of housekeeping for the morning, everybody, is we will be recording this webinar, so we will be sending it out. Totally understand that things come up during it, so we want you to focus on the work at hand and come and join us when you can. So we really appreciate you guys giving us time. I know it's few and far between right now with all of us running around at the end of the summer here trying to get projects done. All right, it looks like that counter has slowed down, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning, you've joined us for Feeling the Squeeze, 5 tips for taking control of your projects. My name is Jeff Sample and I'm going to be joined by Justin Weatherby here. So I am the Director of Strategic Accounts here at eSUB, but I've been in the technology industry for the last 25 years, specifically in construction for nearly a decade now. Started with Gallegos Masonry as an IT director, so I come from the trades, I understand the trades, and that's what I care about. I did spend some time, you might know me as the Iron Man of IT from the Content Crew podcast, and then as a consultant for JB Knowledge, which is where I got my passion for really helping companies go through digital transformation. I think it's a critical aspect of all businesses. A lot of other verticals that I was in experienced that, and I think really construction is in its heyday for that. So that's me, that's what I'm passionate about, and that's why I'm here. But I'm also joined by Justin Weatherby here, Senior Solutions Engineer. Justin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jeff. I'm a carpenter by trade. I've been a construction site superintendent, project manager, and estimator. So much like Jeff, my background is solidly rooted in construction. So Jeff and I will be taking us through some of these tips and tricks, and just happy you guys were all able to join us today.
All right. Well, thanks, Justin. More from him in a minute. He's going to be on the wheels of steel today, running the show in the background once we get rid of these silly PowerPoints, right? So just a little bit about eSUB, guys. We're 100% trade contractor focused. That's our exclusive and only customer base. We've really felt like we could provide more by focusing on just the trades. So, and I think we've really done a lot with that. We're very field focused first. So you'll hear this a lot, but you're going to struggle to measure or struggle to manage what you can't measure. And really that comes with getting quality information from the field and then doing more with it. It's digitizing it. It's not just creating a paper form. We're actually going to show you how we create the data. You know, we have document controls, but we're really focused on profit protection and your labor productivity. Those things are going to be critical as we go into this new world. And just so you all know, it's at the heart of what we do here at eSUB. It's in our DNA. So you will see it sprinkled throughout the demonstration as we get there. But we're going to talk about the here and now. And this is where I'm going to get a little bit real with everybody because, you know, I did go through 2008, just like many of you did. And, you know, I know this slide looks a little interesting, but here comes COVID and let's batten down the hatches and let's pull the blankets over our heads and ride this sucker out. And we're not going to be able to do that, right? The numbers are already starting to come in. So if you're not seeing it yourself in your own businesses, you will be seeing it. So, you know, a Construction Dive article that I was reading is showing a 13% decline in backlog right now, which means we are a month behind in backlog compared to last year and continuing to slip. 47% of all contractors are reporting a profit loss, lower profits this year. Only 13% were doing that at the same time last year. So I think if you're not currently feeling it, you're going to be feeling it soon. And then the really most troubling thing that came across my desk is if any of you are familiar with Anirban Basu, you may have seen him at the CFMA, other conferences, or on ABC. He's their chief economist. He's talking about this being a perfect storm in construction that we're not going to feel until early 2021. And, you know, that's just some of the facts from the leaders in the industry, but also our partners. So we have partners with Plan Hub and they are already seeing an increase in the number of bids per project that are going out, and it's significant enough. We did a webinar with them recently. You can look back and look at the numbers just from a month ago, what they were looking like. And we see from them that they're continuing to see more and more people bidding on single jobs, which means competition is going up. And that's when things get really tough for the trade contractor, right? Because when we're in a boom, trade contractors are in the driver's seat, right? We're over, bidding on projects. We can pick the work we want to do. There's more work than can be done. But when the economy takes a dip, it's really got to be the general contractors that are winning that work need to be our partners. Those need to be the places that we're focusing on, the people we're focusing on. And as those bids go up, they get tighter. And the tighter they get, the more opportunity for lost profits. So it really comes into a visibility. So if you haven't started to digitize, you're not going to ride this out. You can't hide. But I think that's where we have to flip this. I'm an abundance thinker, and I always have been. So we can take this as, doom and gloom, or we can take this as our opportunity to transform and to really take these digital tools that before were just, the shiny toys that our people wanted to bring us, and turn them into the tools. You heard me talk about Plan Hub. That's getting out there and bidding on more projects and getting visibility over more work. It's a simple bid platform that's really easy to use that trade contractors can get out there and win more work with. You can use products like Stack and other estimating systems to really drill into and get those bids to be as competitive as possible. But then when you win more work, the other way you win that work is by being the trade partner of the future and by having visibility over your projects and being who the GC wants on their job sites too, because their margins are getting pushed down as well. So we want to take that, help you get more out of what you've got and be more competitive while also, winning more work. Unfortunately, I can't drive this home enough. In 2008, we saw job sites where it was purely cash flow problems, where general contractors had trade partners that couldn't show up on the job because they couldn't make payroll. So general contractors aren't our enemy. They want us to succeed. Without us, projects can run into serious delays, serious issues. So we're going to not only show you how our product can help you, have visibility, have increase your labor productivity, or at least give you visibility in your labor productivity to drive back information into your bidding process, that measured mile aspect. But we're also going to show you how you can be more communicative with the information that you get from the field. So you guys have a choice. The choice is up to you. Are you going to digitize, or are you going to pull the blankets over your head and hope you're going to be here in the end of 2021? And unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, some of you aren't going to be here at the end of 2021. No matter what I do, some of you aren't going to listen. So I really hope you can listen in, learn to digitize, because it's the digital tools that are really going to help us. And with that, we've kind of kicked it off. I know I went quick, but I really want Justin to show you the magic. So he's going to go ahead and show you eSUB here. I'm going to jump out and let him get his screen share going. While he gets that going, I want you guys to know that we're going to talk about those 5 things today. We're going to talk about greater visibility, data-driven daily reports that drive information into your jobs, field productivity, labor productivity, and how job costing and other information can really help your business. So with that, Justin, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And when we're talking about being good partners and reporting information from the field, that really starts with eSUB's mobile app. Our mobile application is available for both phones and tablets, whether those are Android or Apple devices. And what we're looking at here on my screen is we have our project manager web portal on the left, and then over on the right we've got my mobile app. So just diving right into it, whether I'm here from the project manager's view or from the field view, I'm seeing a list of the projects that I'm assigned to. On the project management view, right from the home screen, I get an indication of how we're doing on those hours, and then any changes that I've made to the job. Now, for our foremen out in the field, we really want to empower them to do great documentation. And as many of you know, the most powerful documentation we can get from our folks out in the field is in the form of a daily report. So I'll go ahead and pop open a daily report and fill one out here on the mobile device, but I also want to make sure that you guys see a finished copy and can follow along over here on the left. So if I take this daily report from top to bottom, what we're looking at is a comment section of this daily report. And these comment buckets are customizable. And you can see over here on the left when those come into play. Now, anytime I'm using this comment feature, I want to utilize our talk to type option. The reason I like using this talk to type to option is we'll be able to get a lot of information into the system very quickly.
You know, Justin, I think that's a critical piece too that you're talking about there, because I like this all the time, but my field foreman had 5 thumbs on each hand. So typing away wasn't necessarily the easiest thing on the planet. And studies have proven that you talk more than you type, right? As you start to type, you start to cut it down. So you only have to type as little as you can. And it's all about getting a richness of the story, right? Because it's the most, telling the story from your perspective is what helps you win, get your money and get paid for what you're doing, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And then if we're even going further down the technology tree, where I started was with paper daily reports. And, you know, I'm not, you know, much of a penman myself, so my daily reports were hard to read. And also there was no visibility into whether or not the foremen were completing those on a daily basis. Now, you know, as a carpenter, I'd have my bags on, you know, besides my framing hammer and my speed square and my 18 penny nails. In that same bag, I would have my cell phone. So I believe a lot of your guys have their mobile devices right there with them. And if you can take this and document it, not just at the end of the day, but during the day, you'll find that you'll get more productivity out of your team and greater information or greater detail of that information.
Yeah, I think that was great, Justin, because, you know, part of what we want to prevent in the industry is, you know, people have spent too much time doing paperwork, right? And not building. And we want you to focus on getting the job done, but documenting it in line while you're going through. So we have people start their daily report in the morning and continue to add on to it as you go through the day. At the end of the day, you'll see how we wrap this thing up and you're done. You're off. You're going home. You're spending time with your kids. You're not really worried about finishing off that paperwork and, you know, opening up your laptop if you were lucky, if you had gone from paper to some sort of digital at the end of the day there and adding more work to your lives. So, and hey, Justin, I had a question on that daily report over there. Like, where does all that letterhead come from and everything? Justin, you're muted at the moment. We lost your headset there.
Appreciate it. So what you'll find is at the top of all of our documents, we've got our eSUB logo there as a placeholder, but with your guys' copy of this, it will be branded to you. There will be no eSUB branding on it. It'll be your letterhead. And then as we look down this daily report, we're seeing all that critical information. What job is it in? Who filled this out? What's the weather information pulls in automatically? And then we just talked about that comments field right here. Now, to wrap up on the comments before we move into the crew section, there's a spot for internal comments. Now, we want to be a good partner and share this information when it's applicable to the general contractor, but at times, that information isn't something that we want to pass along. So we've got a spot down here at the bottom for internal comments, and any comments I put in there by default will not be included in any print or email of this document. So that way you have a separate section of this daily report for your eyes only. With that said, I want to move on over to the crew section of our daily. Now, what the heck is a crew? Well, in eSUB, a crew is just a group of people working on a certain area of the job. So where were we working? What cost code were we working under? In this case, we were doing rough-in, and then who was doing rough-in? We had Chris, Michael, and Frank. Now, I want to record how many hours did we put in. If you're tracking unit productivity, how many units did we install? And then this next box here, this hours lost section, could be one of the most powerful parts of eSUB. Now, the time and the units, they're going to be filling out my daily report, but also producing time cards. But these lost hours will be populated a separate report in eSUB. What we find is too often we're being delayed on the job, but not doing a good job of documenting it. So we were delayed by an hour. eSUB's going to force me to put in a reason why we were delayed. Why were we delayed? job site conditions.
Now, you went through a lot there, Justin, really fast. I had a couple of quick questions for you. When you were picking those phases and those cost codes, are they all of my phases and cost codes?
So you have a master database in eSUB of your cost codes, and you pick and choose which cost codes are going to be available on this project. If you're utilizing one of our accounting integrations, that's all driven from the estimate that's in your accounting software. With those phases or buildings and floors, those are project specific. So you build those out at the beginning of the project, select which cost codes you want available, and you can also pick and choose which employees will be available in this dropdown as well.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. I'm not hunting and pecking through everything I have. It's very job specific, so I can get where I need. And I in there I also noticed that you have 1.5. So is that the idea of single time, time and a half? Is there an option for double time?
Yeah, this is pretty configurable. So your 1x is going to be your regular time, time and a half, typically that's overtime. We also have another bucket you can enable for double time. And then these units, if you're not tracking those, you can actually turn those off. So really focusing, to Jeff's point, focusing on exactly what we need. And that way we're not drawing attention from our foreman to something that's not important to us as a company.
Cool. So is it just creating a paper time card on the backside here? Is that what we're doing?
So what it's doing is it's filling out this daily report, and then it's also producing time cards for the individuals. So across all the projects that they work on for a given week, you're going to be able to see those hours, either edit or approve those hours. And once that time has been approved, you can import that into your payroll system. Now, besides just the time card portion that we're filling out, eSUB's also generating a number of different labor productivity reports, and then also with these lost hours, our lost hours summary as well.
All that from a time card?
Really, all of that just from one section of our daily report. What we try to do is bring everything into one action, right? Because it's hard enough to get them to do one thing, let alone to get them to do 5 different things. So what I have pulled up over here on the left is that lost hours summary. And Jeff, how do you see people using this type of information?
Well, and that's what we were talking about in the opening, right? We're about to go into a really tough time for everybody. And what I've seen with it is as a job starts to slip or something starts to happen, the trade partner of the future has that information and can be the eyes and the ears for the general contractors, which helps you in your relationship. This is a relationship business. So it's really not about attacking to get your money. Yes, we're protecting you that if you need to do that, you can. But if you see an hour slip in here or an hour slip in there for just those same reasons, and why, you can put this out to a spreadsheet, sit across from the general contractor and say, these are the things we're seeing. And the earlier in a job you can see that, the better partner you can be, the better chance you can help everybody keep on schedule and be everything moving. And then if you have it, look, we have this there for you to protect yourselves later on in the event that you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we like to say that the documentation doesn't have to be confrontation, right? We want to capture this information, so at least the power is in our hands. Some of my clients use this hours lost report to negotiate change orders that they already have in play, to try to get full value on those, and then also to combat any back charges. While we're trying to be good partners, not every job goes perfectly. So having this information puts that in our hands. Besides our hours lost summary, notice that we're pulling in time and units. So what we're going to get from that is we're also going to get some unit productivity reporting. You've got your estimated values on the left and then your actuals on the right. And essentially what you're looking at is estimated unit per hour rate versus an actual unit per hour rate and how many units we've completed. Now we know some folks aren't not everybody's unit driven, so we have another similar report that's driven off of percent complete. What we'll do is we'll zoom this in a little bit, but essentially looking at similar information. What percentage of our hours have we used? How far complete we are with that particular task, and then eSUB's going to project my level of efficiency, letting me know if I'm behind schedule or ahead of schedule on these items.
Well, and those are critical numbers, Justin, because early on in a project, if we can see, so like down where you have 2%, you're at 100%, things are looking really good. So if you can get it and really know that you're not being as productive as you can at 5%, 10%, those are times that you can make up and fix and adjust so that you can, not lose out on the job. So that visibility is critical early, and staying on top of it. And really that's all driven from the daily report.
It's just driven from one section of that daily report, that crew section. And a lot of folks are using this information to pass back to the estimating department. Because again, we're looking at where we can sharpen our pencil and where we need to pad it a little bit better. And as Jeff mentioned, this information is actually coming across in real time. So if I'm 90% done with a given task, it's too late to affect any change. So I want to be able to get this, in that first 25% to know how are we going to do, at least projected, to wrap this part up.
And that's interesting because it's actually showing not only your original budget, but your change order in there too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at some of our project management dashboards, but eSUB in general is going to be focusing on those major project management documents, your dailies, your RFIs, your change orders, your submittals. And that's where we set ourselves apart from other softwares, is we're not just a point solution. That's not to say you can't find an extreme value in one part of our system, but we try to incorporate all of the project management workflow, as well as bringing that information in over from accounting.
Before you jump off the screen though, so if I'm having a group here, if I have one of these cost codes that's really kind of going a little wonky on me, do I have to go back to the daily reports to find out more information on the crews?
No, what I can actually do is just click on that cost code and dive in and see which crews are working on that. Now, when I do that, I'll have a good indication of who those crews are and if I need to make any adjustments to there. But Jeff, you've mentioned this before about knowing your field guys.
Yeah, you got to know your field guys. So you can drill through that, guys, and you'll actually see who was on those daily time cards or on those daily reports. That part of that time card portion, you're going to see who was in those crews. And so you can make adjustments because we all know certain people work on different parts of the projects better than others and work in teams better than others. So we have that drill down capability. But I'm going to have to keep you going, Justin. You got to get back over to that daily report for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and slide this back over and we'll get our daily report wrapped up. This is that crew section that Jeff was talking about. If I always see Michael and Ryan together and they're always falling behind, maybe I may need to make an adjustment on that crew makeup. So the next couple sections here on our daily report are pretty straightforward. And I'm going to go through them quickly, not because they're not important, just because they're easy to use. Now, again, we're looking at subcontracts, tracking either our subs or other subs that might be on the job, then any equipment that we might have, as well as any material that we might be requesting or might have been delivered to the job. Now, last but not least on this daily report, the old saying is a picture's worth 1,000 words, but I can't tell you how many times in my career a picture's been worth $1,000. So we're able to jump into what we call field notes, and those are actually structured photos that I'm able to take, annotate, and then eSUB forces me to provide some context with it. So I'll go ahead and pull something from my library, or I can snap the picture in real time. I can then annotate that image. And if I try to save this photo, it's not going to allow me to save this without putting some sort of context in. Damaged control wiring, hashtag RFI.
So I think that's you jump through it, but it's really powerful because, we're doing a couple things there, right? The documentation is critical, that we grab it and attach it to the daily report because we know where it's going on. We see the location, we see what's going on there. You're also noticing that, I want you guys to notice that he's using some keywords in there around RFI. We're going to be able to use that later. We're all about gathering as much digital information and being able to pick up and do with it. What you'll hear here at eSUB is right information, right time, right person, and let's not duplicate anything. And so these pictures are going to be really powerful and tell that story for us at the same time. So, but also, look, we got to put a little bit of training wheels. One of the things you're going to hear over and over here at eSUB is that it's easy to use. We've really stressed that because if we can simply get people to give us the information, then we can do powerful things with it. So we've put the training wheels in where we can about, not being able to save things without giving us all that critical information.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And the last thing I just want to note is you could email this daily report out from the mobile app. So a lot of folks might use our equipment or materials section as like a material request and send that to our purchasing manager. And what I'd like to do now, that since we wrapped up this daily, is sort of switch gears and take a look at what the project manager sees back in the office. So what I'll do is I'll go full screen sort of from here on out with this. And up here at the top, obviously we have our project. We have the weather information, which is driven off of the location of the job. I see a high level view of my hours and a high level view of my dollars. Those photos that we're taking, those come in real time as well, so we can see those. And then as I scroll down this page, we get into what I call the big six. Jeff, did you want to touch on this a little bit?
Well, yeah, I want to drive a couple of things there. So, we're going to give you visibility, right? We are not going to be your accounting system. However, some of the things you saw up there with budget, our system gets more and more powerful as you load more and more information into it. And one of the things that's most powerful to us is our integrations to things like Sage 300, Vista Viewpoint Vista and Viewpoint Spectrum, and our ability to give you and your project managers a visibility over the project accounting without having to be in accounting systems. No offense to my accounting systems, but they're built for accountants. And trust me, I'm not an accountant and those things make my head hurt. But we need our project managers to have visibility over how we're doing on a budgetary perspective. So in the center there, you're going to see my contract details. And it's going to add up not only my original contract amount, but my approved change orders, my cost to date, my projected additional costs, and then really the critical piece there. We talked about profit protection and visibility. There it is. I really want to be on this job, Justin, with a 17.5% profit percentage. And what's really nice too is if you've purchased and integrated one of our accounting integrations, you're actually going to see right there at the top next to contract details, eSUB and your accounting system. The reason for that is a lot of accounting systems aren't updated until after payrolls run. And sometimes that's a week, sometimes that's 2 weeks. And we know in this business that is too late. So we're taking those actuals and putting them in there, but we're also using that information and that data that was driven from that daily report around that crew time to predict out how you're doing. Later on with a good accounting integration, we'll actually shore that up for you to make sure, the dollars and cents match up. But this really gives you day-to-day live visibility over how you're doing on your project so you can make an adjustment at any time. Justin, did you have something there for me?
Yeah, definitely. The dashboard in general is meant not only to, just display the information, but give you insight onto how your job is performing. Now, obviously, we've got some great graphical representations that we can change as far as what views we want to look at with this information. But like over here with our change orders, what we're seeing on this particular job is my past due change orders over the past 90 days are actually growing. And my pending change order dollar amounts are growing. But the green bar, my approved change orders, are staying the same. This could be a leading indicator that something's going wrong on this job. As we roll down the page, what we're looking at here on our daily reports, besides all the great labor productivity reports that we saw, we're also able to draw out our as planned hours that you see in blue, and then our actual hours in green. So what we're seeing on this particular project is I had trouble staffing this job against what I planned to do. And then when we switch over and look at things like RFIs and submittals, I can see I have quite a few past due RFIs. And if we notice that stuff growing, that's an indication that there may be something wrong on this job, or that we just need to get those things updated and pay closer attention to it.
Well, and I have to agree with you there, because all of our good project managers, those seasoned project managers, know that if RFIs are backing up, it's one of two things is happening. Either we're delaying things, right? And we're looking at that fun as planned hours versus actual hours graph you got over there. Or worse, we're installing things that we're not getting approval for, and we're taking the risk. And right, this is all about protecting you from risk as well, because as those people that install the different parts and pieces on the walls and inside the walls, we're the ones that take on the risk. So we really have to know that that's going on. So, and again, we're a visibility into accounting data, but we're also there to say there's more than just accounting that goes on when it comes to a job. And these are those easy health indicators that we can take action on. So if you're coming into these jobs and things are green and good, then those aren't the places you want to focus your efforts, right? As you're doing more with less, you want to focus on the jobs that are having trouble. And this simple project summary here gives you that information. There's one more thing down low there too that I wanted to touch on real quick. It's just our milestones here. So, it's all about knowing where you are in the process and, how you've done. And, this just shows you milestones that you've created in our systems to make sure you've made them or missed them. And if you've missed them, why they're there. And we've updated this so that you can actually see them in in this timeline format and have them all laid out for you as well there. So, just some of the modern things that we've done here to draw your eye to the important things where you're missing things or if RFI submittals and others are backing up. Justin, back to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think sort of talking about that document control, as we just were, one of the best examples and easiest examples of that is an RFI. So if I click right here in this tab, this RFI tab, it's actually going to pull up my RFI log for this project. Now, I like to say that my logs are real black and white, but in reality, they're red and green. So I'm able to quickly see which ones are past due, how past due are they, and which ones have been answered. Now, the nice thing about eSUB, and we keep focusing on ease of use. Every document in eSUB, whether that is a change order, a submittal, an RFI, a pay application, they all follow the same 3 steps. I want to create that document. I then want to attach the backup information and then email it out of the system. So we're going to walk through that right now in the context of this RFI. Now, just to save us some time, we're going to go ahead and pull up an RFI that's already been filled out and just sort of talk about what we're looking at here. At a high level, we want some basic information. What's the date? What's the subject? Who am I sending this to? Jeff likes to point out again that these contacts might not be all the contacts in my database. They might just be the ones assigned to this project. So again, I'm not having to hunt through and peck through. Below that, we want to know if there's an impact to our progress or an impact to our cost, and when do we want this returned before we experience any delays. And then also, last but not least, is our clarification requested down here at the bottom.
So that's a really quick process to do it. But, as Justin said, I love to focus on those things because saving clicks and accuracy of information is important. So, having the right contacts loaded up is great because I know a lot of you are always running around trying to figure out who it is I'm supposed to send this to. And that's wasting time. And then those 3 little big ones is there an impact to our progress? Is there an impact to our cost? And to mitigate schedule delay. Those are legally binding. Those are the things that you need to protect yourselves. And here at eSUB, we're all about protecting your risk and your profits because the two go together hand in hand. So it's really simple, it's really quick, and to the point. And it's very fast for you to get these things set up.
Yeah, and if you're living in a world where this information isn't being effectively managed in a project management solution, what are you using? You're using the shared drive. You're using like a Word template to create this. Then you got to go back and fill out an Excel log of when it was sent and when it was returned by. What's nice about eSUB is this is all automated for you. As soon as you fill out this RFI, it's automatically tracked in your log. And then from there, we can go ahead and staple some backup information to it. So I filled this out, I've saved it, I'm now logging in, tracking it, not just in that log, but I also have a graphical representation on the project homepage of how these RFIs are performing. But before I can send this RFI out of the system, I want to attach backup information to it. eSUB works like a giant PDF stapler. It's going to take any of your attachments, staple them together with the RFI as a cover page. And you have a few different options on how these attachments can be added to the system. Now, we saw that we were taking photos out in the field. So we have something called eSUB files. And those eSUB files are essentially any of those photos that we've taken out in the field or any files that we've uploaded to this project. Also, we have this ability to attach drawings or plans from PlanGrid and BIM 360 docs, if you're using one of those solutions as your drawing management tool. And then finally, you can go ahead and drag anything you wish, if it didn't fall into any of those categories, right into here, and eSUB will staple that to it.
Now, he went through a mouthful there, but am I understanding you correctly? So that field note I took as part of my daily report that can then be attached and added on to become part of an RFI, and I didn't have to call or get that or go through those drives or get it off their phone or have them email it to me or have them text it to me. It's instantly there for me. I want you guys to understand the power of that. That's a critical way that we bind these things together. And then as Justin showed you, we know there's going to be things outside of our system that you're always going to have to upload into there. And then those really powerful integrations that we have with PlanGrid and BIM 360 that allow us to use those plans management tools and modeling management tools in the BIM 360 side to integrate. If you haven't heard about our BIM 360 integrations and our PlanGrid integrations, I encourage you to reach out. We recently did a talk at MEP Force just around all of the things that you can do with the two systems working together side by side. So really powerful to create this one place to go. Now, Justin, if I attach too much here, am I going to overload this or what's going to happen?
Yeah, right. So there's only a certain file size that can be emailed successfully, and eSUB recognizes that automatically. So if you exceed that file size, eSUB, instead of trying to send a PDF, which would just bounce back to you, it will automatically convert this RFI to a shareable link and email them the shareable link. So for me as a project manager, I don't even have to worry about that because I just put it together and eSUB will recognize it and take care of that for me.
Awesome. And you were talking about emailing this thing out, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do we want to track the document itself, but we want to track the distribution of that document. And when I start talking about email integration, our project managers get a little bit nervous, Jeff, because the last thing I would want to do as a project manager is have another place I need to check emails or reply to emails. The nice thing is you do not use eSUB for replying or checking emails. eSUB stores it for you. And so how does that work? Well, first of all, I need to select who I want to email it to, but that's pre-populated off of the RFI because I had selected that on the RFI. But I could override that, add additional folks if I needed to, and get that sent off. I could also add additional comments to the body of the email and then pick which attachments I want to include in this send. Now, a couple things happen when I start sending emails out of eSUB. We're going to assume most folks are using Outlook, and then we're just going to assume you're going to be sending this to your general contractor as well. So over here on the right, this will be our Outlook. And then over here on the left, this is going to be our general contractor. Again, you can send this, it works with Gmail as well, but we're just using this as just some standards. When I click send email in eSUB, a copy is going to go to my general contractor. A copy is also going to my Outlook as well. And then maybe most importantly, a copy is being stored here in eSUB. So if there's ever a question about RFI number 3, I know who I sent it to and when I sent it to them. And with our contracts making reference to liquidated damages or delay claims, we really need to track when these documents have been distributed. Now, let's say that the general contractor has received that email I just sent him. Now, when he replies to this email that I just sent over, he's actually replying directly back to me into my Outlook. And all of my back and forth around this original email happens, via your email carrier. Now, because this original email started in eSUB, there's a binding code built into that automatically drags it back into the system. So not only am I going to have my sent emails, I'm going to have my incoming emails as well. And I'm going to have all of that without any extra effort. The only effort that we ask is that you click the send email button in eSUB, because once you do that, all this automatic tracking and logging is going to take place. Now, let's say for some reason this chain is broken. You can forward any email and its attachments into eSUB directly, into the eSUB system by sending it to docs@esubonline.com. And that'll hit our system. And once it does, we will review that to review the subject line and the body of the email, and our system will try to figure out where it needs to go. And if we can figure that out, it will automatically route it into this project for you. Otherwise, if it can't, if there's not enough identifying information, the next time you log into the system, there will be an alert letting you know that there's an unresolved email and ask you to route it.
So other than being Justin's best impression of John Madden, this should give you somewhat of an idea. But what does this really mean? It means we're managing projects out of the project management system. We're not managing them outside, out of our inbox and our Outlook, which is just not an effective tool. It's a great way to send things back and forth, but we get a lot of junk, we get a lot of things. And what I like to highlight here too is people come and go from jobs and companies, right? And it's a phone call to IT to get them to go and get me access to that mailbox. And now I'm in somebody else's haystack trying to find a needle, and I'm wasting my time instead of being in here, seeing what was sent, being able to access it and knowing how we're doing. So great job, Justin. Watch out, John Madden. You know, you're the next one. I'm going to lose you someday to ABC or something.
Thanks, Jeff. Right. I know that looks like a poorly drawn play there, but, you know, let's say that we're having trouble getting our RFIs or our change orders and submittals returned because, you know, we've sent them and we've tracked them and we're, you know, monitoring their performance, but we're not getting the responses we need in a timely manner. eSUB has what's called the correspondence toolbox, and leftover from our claims consulting days, we have about 40 pre-written letter templates to help you guys with some of that legalese around delays or disruptions or out of scope work. But today, what I want to draw your attention to is our outstanding document reminders. So I've got an outstanding submittal, RFI, and change order reminder. And what's nice about this is integrated into your project logs. So I'm not getting answers to these. I want to send a letter to the GC. Now, what I've been told from our clients is these letters get the general contractor to jump and get us our answers back. Now, that's not to say that, again, we're trying to be confrontational with this, but we need these answers so we're not delaying the job. Down here below, you see a list of all of the RFIs that are pending within the system. I can choose which ones to select. You know, in this case, I'm going to select all of them. And, you know, I ran through that pretty quickly, but what it does is it produces this final document that, again, without a system like eSUB in place, it's going to take me, I don't know, a half hour to an hour to aggregate this information from my different spreadsheets and check my emails and type this letter up. But we're able to put this together right here on the fly.
Yeah, it took you longer to talk about it than it did to put it together. And I mean, I think that's critical because, again, something you've heard from us and heard from me is it's got to be simple. It's got to be right there at your fingertips. And we want to save you time. That took 30 seconds for you to get this out, and that could be worth $30,000 in those 30 seconds of that. But also that time was worth money to you too, because they're headed back out, and you know, it's all on your standard format, so you're not going through those shared drives, and you know, no one's ever grabbed the master and actually written over it and then had to back it out and figure it out, right? Another call to IT. We want to save those phone calls, and we want you focused on projects, and we want the communication to be, it's critical that you communicate, but it should be easy. And that's what we've done here, is made it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of that ease of use is not only ease of entry, but also ease of reporting. And I think we see that a lot from here on our project summary page, giving us that 30,000 foot overview of these projects. We also have something called corporate management, which allows me to digest that same information, but across multiple projects.
Well, and I want to talk about that for a second, Justin, because we can't also, you know, leave out the fact that the way we look at the corporate management structure is in construction, there's layers and everybody's running work and needs visibility. So in corporate, for us, it's actually visibility over what you have access to, which allows you to have visibility into the work you're running. My least favorite thing ever at the masonry company was Monday morning meeting when we went around and asked everybody how their jobs were doing, because everybody said their jobs were going just fine. And that's not the truth. And It's not that they wanted to lie, but nobody wants to bring that information up. But with our corporate management availability to see into RFIs backing up on a job, or how you're doing on a budget on a job, et cetera, we can then have a really functional Monday morning meeting where we're not coming down on those PMs or on those foremen. We're actually addressing the issues. We're focusing on our areas of risk. Because if I have 90% of my jobs are doing great, one bad job can completely tank my company. And I have to have that visibility. So that corporate structure gives us the visibility. And again, when you have that conversation, I can say, hey, Justin, I've never worked with this GC before. What are some tips and tricks? And Justin may have worked with them before, and now we're having a quality interaction rather than everybody just nodding their head and hoping that the boss didn't actually check in.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff. And I know from my experience, I would have an idea of how we were doing on the job, but I wouldn't know for sure until that final P&L statement came out. And that would be 90 days to 6 months after that job closed. And I would literally just be waiting there going, I think I did good on this one, but I really didn't know because we didn't have this level of transparency.
Yeah, that transparency through to this kind of information is really critical for us here at eSUB, and it's what we're born and bred to do. And we're there to make it easy for you. Anything else you wanted to show us before we, and by the way, folks, if you have questions, we're here, we're live. You can ask us these questions. We're happy to answer them. Anything else you got for us, Justin?
You know what? I think we hit all the major points that I wanted to hit on, Jeff.
Awesome. Well, if you hand it back over to me, we can take some questions in, and I can follow this up with, really taking the power of what Justin's showed you guys here and again, translated. A couple things I want you guys to understand is, the smaller your business is, the more critical having visibility over doing work is, because you run a higher risk when you're not spread out and diversified enough. But also for all of you that are thinking you're diversified enough and you're big enough, if you're working on single projects or on just a few projects, just a few things going south quickly can be the problem. And a lot of this is also around cash flow. A lot of companies go out of business when they're cash positive. It's just a matter of cash flow. And we want you guys to have the visibility over that. And it's about digitizing workflows, not just creating paper. A lot of other solutions that you're going to see are just taking that information in and they're digitizing it for you, but it's digital paper. And we here at eSUB believe in the data behind it, because as you saw, it drives all that critical visibility and functionality. So, when it came in, I said I had 5 things I wanted to show you. So let's talk about those 5 things that we have here in eSUB for you. Right? It was how to gain greater visibility into what's happening on your job sites. Well, we saw that. You have daily reports. You have your crew time. You have your RFI logs on this great project summary page. We also have the corporate view that gives you the ability to look over your different verticals or look over your different market areas, because we know those are different. Data driven. We're taking not just info and doing nothing with it. We're actually adding it into your productivity to give you that measured mile. So you can take what you did in your estimating system, compare it to how you did, and shore those things up. I think Justin really nailed that. It's about knowing where you have room and where you don't have room. And that's going to go back to your budgeting and go back to your bidding. And it really should be a part of your of how you bid projects. Field productivity translates to productivity in the office. We showed you how to save phone calls to people to get that information that they've saved, that then you can move along from your office and get that information out to general contractors, get answers. We didn't show it, but you can push it back to the field so that they can see it in the field. How to track real-time job costing. Well, we just showed you that. And how to get ahead of issues that can derail your projects. When you have RFIs backing up, when you have submittals backing up, and when you have change orders backing up, those are all things that can put a project off the rails. So with that, I want to give everybody an opportunity to ask us any questions here. We are here at your disposal. We appreciate all of you sticking around. If you have any, great. If you don't, or if you're not exactly the extrovert that wants to ask them here, we understand that. We want you guys to reach out. Now is the time to take action. I cannot tell you and cannot stress this enough. If you think you're going to ride this thing out, you're not, right? Unfortunately, at the end of 2021, Some of you listening in may not be here. So reach out to me. You can do jeff.sample or jeffs@esub.com. You can check us out on the demo page. I'm also here and available. I have a couple of other compatriots here that are specializing in consulting, because we're not just here to be your project management solution. We're here to be your consultants along the way, right? We believe in you. We believe in power to the trades. If you want to schedule 30 minutes to an hour with me for free so we can talk about where your business is, the problems that you're experiencing, that's my job, and that's what I'm passionate about. Of course, yes, I want you to use eSUB, but ultimately I want you to take a step forward and not try to ride this thing out. And yes, Joey, this will be downloadable. So we had our first question. It will be downloadable. We'll send out a link to it so that you can do that from your offices and share it. We appreciate that. So come to us. If you haven't checked out some of the other webinars we've done with our partners like Plan Hub, we stress that you do that, because as you start to need to bid more work and get that backlog built up for next year, you need modern tools. There's no one tool, in my opinion, to rule them all. It's about putting the right tools, the best in breed together. We here at eSUB, and I believe that eSUB is the project management platform for trade contractors, because we care about you, we focus on you, and this is what we do. So check us out there. You can hook up with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. We're just really here to be at your service and help you out. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. That's all I had. Justin, thank you. It's always a pleasure to work with you, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And thank you, everybody, for you guys joining us today. We know you got busy schedules, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Stay safe out there too, please. COVID's having a huge impact, all the other things that are going on. So, we want you to keep working, but we want you to do it safely. We're here for you. Reach out when you can.